Hey everybody! Wow, John got here early. Dan, Goose, Andreas, and of course Kimberly, my wife. Glad to see everybody. What's going on? Mm-hmm. All right. Love you too, babe. All right. Oh gosh, we have kids that are old enough to be teachers in high school teachers. So our youngest is 17. So maybe I don't look that old, but guess I age well. How's everybody doing today? Doing good? Doing good? Wild ride in the markets, and it's not going to let up. So let's talk about it, shall we? And just looking at the calendar for today, we have Flash Manufacturing PMI and Flash Services PMI coming up 9:45. We had some core durable orders and stuff like that. I was looking at the Bank of America has been putting out credit card and debit card transactions. Now, in February, they had a 6% drop month over month from January. January saw a surprise increase in consumer retail sales, and so just for the week, their numbers plummeted with all this banking stuff for the third week of March. I don't have the thing to pull up and show you. It was in a proprietary login thing. Anyway, right now they're indicating that with the plummet in transactions that consumers have made due to the banking freak out between credit and debit cards, there's about an 8% drop month over month from February, which was already down 6%, to March seeing an 8% drop further than February in credit card and debit transactions. And Bank of America is a rather large bank that has a lot of credit card and debit cards out there. Not sounding so great, I think when we see the consumer confidence for March, it's going to be down when we get there in April. Now, this kind of wraps up the week here. We have daylight savings change, time shift for, looks like the Swiss, the Euro, the London, and the UK. And looking into next week, not much happening on Monday so far. Tuesday, we get some goods balance, some HPI. Get that consumer confidence right there coming out next Tuesday. That was just mentioning. Then we've got pending home sales on Wednesday. Not a bunch of big red movers until we get to Thursday. We get the final quarter-over-quarter GDP, the unemployment claims, and then Friday, not another super big mover. We get core PCE on Friday. So another relatively potentially benign kind of week of what are they going to do, right? It's like, what, in absence of economic news coming out, what do all the talking heads do to create chaos in the markets? And I don't know. Well, we're going to see, right? Big news that I saw, I was talking to Goose about a fellow who used to be the CTO of Coinbase, made $1 million bet that Bitcoin goes to $1 million by June 17th of this year due to hyperinflation and the rapid whatever you call it, debasement of the U.S. dollar. He's thinking that the Fed and the Treasury rapidly lose control over the power of the U.S. dollar. Could happen. I'm not. It seems a little far-fetched, but this thing could unwind quickly, as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank and other banks. Now Deutsche Bank over the night for us in the U.S. kind of coming unraveled a little bit. So this can all go downhill pretty quickly. It's hard to say. I am invested in some crypto. So anyway, All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. Remember, I may be full of crap. So this presentation here, informational, educational, and fun, is not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument or anything else. If you desire that personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. So, well, see, Valerie, the whole point of that is that your cash would be worth nothing. It's not even about hiding cash under the mattress. It's the cash becomes worth nothing. Think about it. If all of a sudden Bitcoin goes from 28,000 up to $1 million a coin, I don't have my calculator app here. Let's see. We're talking about a million. And we divide that by the current 28,000 roughly it was banging around at this morning. That's a 35x increase. That means the US dollar decreases by 30x, 36x. So you suddenly have, gosh, what is $1 divided by 36, roughly, just rounding. I mean, your $1 becomes worth 2 cents, 3 cents. All right, that's what that would equate to. That stuff I was talking about a couple days back about the credit default swap situation. That's that playing out essentially, and yeah, ouch. So hiding cash under your mattress, it's like hiding pennies, really. That's the kind of rapid devaluation of our dollar that it would take for Bitcoin to go to 1 million in the next 90 days. And that's fast. Like, that's a fast. I don't think our way of life in the U.S. is going to be able to handle that kind of craziness, but could happen. It could. I mean, if this whole thing unravels, as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, I mean, they were withdrawing, what was it, $10 million a second for 10 hours straight? I mean, golly, that's a lot of money flowing. Think about it, 3,600 seconds in an hour, 10 hours. I mean, that's what it took to suck out billions of dollars. So, anyway, just want to be honest and real with y'all that things can, we're sitting on thin ice here. But that said, think about what the stock market would do if the value of all these companies just went up by 36x, right? You imagine what this thing would do, up 36x? I mean, holy cow. Anyway, doesn't necessarily mean the stock market would plummet. If the value of dollars drops out and the value of companies is still value of companies, then everything goes up by a crap ton of money. Still holding on to the purple trend line. I would like to not keep riding this into the abyss here. I would like to see us move up out of this zone, up and away, if you will. Just consolidating, though. Obviously, the turmoil in the market's having a little bit of trouble picking a direction here. So, somebody asked me, and it happened to be Goose, who's on here, what's the stuff you watch? I mean, we were just kind of having a casual conversation. Here's what I look at all day, every day, right here. I flip back and forth. I mean, I have tons of tabs down here at the bottom. This is a screenshot off my 4K monitor. So right here, I'm just broadcasting 1080p. So it looks a little squished up. I mean, if we zoom up, that's, it's 4 times bigger than what you see right here in actual screen resolution. I've got a ton of tabs down here at the bottom, and I keep hitting the start bar down there. A ton of tabs for other stuff that is filled with more charts. So I watched the ES, the NQ, the Russell, which is right now it's M2K, it's RTY is the one I watch, and then gold, and this one says MGC. I only have enough money to play in the small futures, so I usually trade the micros when I'm trading them, and then CL over here. I don't typically trade oil directly with futures, so this platform does let me trade, and that's why it's got the buy and sell buttons on here. And you can see I've got the micros for NQ and NASDAQ right there, NQ and ES. All right. Why do I watch this? Why not watch the Dow? The Dow is such a manipulated, factored index that I find it has no real meaning for anything we watch, anything that you can make actionable trades on. And this is MotiveWave, yeah. For anybody that's not seen this before, all the screenshots I post in Discord that are on the black charts, and some of them on the white charts when they have my logo over here. There's a little button right up here. You just take it just saves the chart right out, and I can just pop over to Discord and load this up. So right now, ES tried to poke out the top of this channel, tried to poke out the bottom of the channel. We were getting a little rally right before I started talking, and we're just kind of hanging in here. NQ holding a measured bounce setup here. This is very interesting, holding a higher low today than we did yesterday, even though we've got some rather fast, severe pullbacks. That's making higher lows. This is a bullish pattern until we start making lower lows. And Russell just continuing to drift off and not looking overly bullish. Gold turning around after it kind of pushed down and looked like it was maybe going to roll over, and then pushing up to higher highs as the dollar kind of chops around. Now, oil, I need to refresh that chart because it obviously got stuck there. But oil just kind of hanging in here too, right off the bottom, or right off the lows here. That's what I watch every day. And why do I watch those? Well, ES is the broad market. NQ is big tech. Russell is micros, small companies. Gold kind of gives you a feeling for what the dollar might or might not be doing. Are people flowing money into gold, or is it risk on, risk off? And then oil kind of gives you the feel of energy. I mean, so this is what I watch all day, every day. These are the futures that I have up. Just kind of keeping my thumb on the market. What's happening? Where's the money flowing? This I found, and it's not anybody that taught me this. This is just kind of me through experience. I've learned that if I watch these 5, I kind of have a feeling for where the market's headed. And I also keep Bitcoin up on another chart off to another screen, so I can kind of watch that and where the crypto market's flowing. Obviously, in most of 2022, Bitcoin less than interesting. So, but here lately, kind of getting sparky. So. Anyway, and then what's this fancy little graph down here underneath each of the one? That is the flow. It takes time and sales data and kind of aggregates it and kind of tells me whether they're net long or net short for the day. I have it reset every single day. That's why it pops back to 0. So I kind of keep an eye on is money, and ES, the big contracts, ES, not the micros, tends to be your CTAs, your computerized trading algorithms, and your bigger traders, your more affluent, people with more money. You can kind of see their positioning. The last few days we saw net selling, net selling, net selling, and then today a little bit of net buying. We'll see. We went through a whole series of net buying days. NQ over here, net selling, net buying, net selling, net selling, and then a little bit of net buying so far today. It just kind of keeps the gauge on which way the day's going. Are people buying into the dip, or are they selling into the dip? This kind of gives me a gauge. That's why I can tell you, like when people are like, oh my gosh, it looks like people are selling like crazy. I'm like, actually, the algorithms and the bigger traders are actually buying into this dip, and that's how I can talk about this. Is I kind of watch this little aggregator thing down here that aggregates that time and sales. And this is available in other futures platforms like NinjaTrader under different names. So where do I pull it? I actually pay for a subscription to futures data and then use the tools inside MotiveWave to calculate this. So I know NinjaTrader has a similar thing. Yeah. Deutsche Bank, yeah, I already mentioned that. Deutsche Bank kind of blowing up a little bit. This one was interesting too. Declining cattle production due to the drought in the U.S. We are down cattle. So hamburgers are going to get more expensive over the next year or so. It's kind of rough. Now, this does not carry forward to pigs and chickens. They're still, despite all these flus and crap in the chickens and the eggs being so expensive, we are actually producing more chickens than we've ever produced. Broiler meat production forecast to continue its long-standing upwards trend. and higher than last year's record production. Turkey production also expected to increase in 2023, and pork production right here. After 2 consecutive years of decline, we have higher carcass weights and higher pork production. So maybe a little balance to the increase in beef prices. Chick-fil-A looks like it's going to keep rocking here. Interesting, huh? I keep track of all these little different things, just in case you didn't know. But farmers of beef having a little bit of trouble with the droughts, keeping their cows alive and fed and all that stuff. So, yeah, and if you weren't sure how many millions of cows there are, there's 89.3 million head of cow, down 3% from a year ago. And about 29 million of those are beef cows bred for slaughter. The rest of those are going to be dairy and other purposes. So that's down about 4% for beef. Yeah, get a freezer. I'm getting 2 cows. We got 2 cows at the slaughterhouse. So. I got a freezer right next to me, actually. You can't see it on the camera, but I got a freezer full of meat right here in my office. So keep the leftover over here. All right, what's happening today? My goodness, what an update, right? S&P 500 still hanging out in the danger zone. Come on now, let's break out of here. I would prefer to break out higher. I vote higher. I think we all vote higher. Let's not go retest this zone down here. And for some reason, I have both of those up. DGS2, interestingly enough, got a little rally yesterday. Just a little baby rally. Still, my chart didn't save where I updated that. I'm going to have to put a smack down on this thing and update it. The interest rate, they did a 1/4 point raise. Box moves up. And the 2-year treasury is still hanging out down here. So, and the Fed funds rate hasn't really moved yet. We should see it inch up a little bit more toward their target rate now that they've raised it another 1/4 point. Now, what Goose and I were talking about before this whole show is that the fact that the U.S. Fed funds rate doesn't just affect U.S. banks. It kind of affects the world. And that's why you see Deutsche Bank this morning not doing so hot, right? And S&P 500 right there, we just opened and we're getting a little red. Hopefully we don't bounce down and retest this one more time, but it's possible, all right? Potential possible. Now, everybody says, JT, your weekly thing, if we're at the lows on the Friday, is that going to push us lower on Monday? Not unless we break lower than Monday's low, all right? Come back over here on Monday. Our low was down here. So our line in the sand is right down there around 3,900. If we start poking lower than that, then we're likely to see lower low Monday or Tuesday of next week. So it's I can't really say yet. We have to see what the day unfolds. All right. Yeah, Yellen says no more bailouts, and then she changed our language on the next testimony. So we'll see what happens there. All right, moving on. S5FI down in the basement. This is where strong reversals can be born, but we can also hang out down here more. I mean, over here we hung out for, 2 weeks, roughly? And we got all the way down to the 2 area. The 2 and 3% of the S&P 500 stocks above the 50-day moving average. Right now we're just hanging out at 18 to 20, and historically, that's where we see reversals out of this zone. We usually touch down in here and then reverse. So I'm just looking back. We do get these dips, like we saw in 2020 when things are extreme. But in a normal market, we just get little dips and touches and pops. We'll dip down and then pop, dip down and pop. That was 2018, 18, 19 freak out right there. We dipped down and then popped. So we're in a reversal zone. That's just be careful. Typically, we'll rally up here before we get a big market drop. Usually the energy is not, we don't have a lot of market energy to go lower when we're already down here. All right. That's just, just big picture. All right. That doesn't mean that we can't just plummet that sucker out and keep it at the bottom. We could. Futures just hanging out in the box, like I've said, sideways. I think I've predicted that for almost 2 weeks now. Just chugging sideways. That's the expectation until we can get a close that definitively closes up out of here without large tails. When we get large tails and back to the box, that just means more consolidation. All right. Sound like a broken record. Every day, same story. NQ, still consolidating right up here near the, this thing could be the thing that leads us out. NQ is the strongest one right now. Money's flowing into Q. That's why I've been watching it. Russell is the laggard, sitting at the bottom, making lower lows, while ES is getting dragged down by banks and trying to rally with big tech. We see the dollar right here reversing a little bit yesterday, popping a little bit overnight, back to test that zone we broke down through. Now it's resistance. We stay below it, we're probably going lower. I still think we're probably going lower. These two tails showed that we were going to get a reversal a little bit higher, back up into that consolidation. We hang out there, can't break above it, then we're probably going lower on the dollar, DXY. That's our dollars versus the rest of the world here. And the start bar is stuck for some reason. All right. Meta right here, climbing higher. Looks like it's on a path. Yeah, maybe, I might be looking into maybe some long-term equity play, looking for this to come up into this 300, 320 area. I'll keep you posted in Discord if I do that. That's looking strong and looking like Meta might try to recover here. DB, Deutsche Bank, getting that big, I don't know if I say that right. I'm not a German speaker, so I apologize to anybody that was like, you said that completely wrong. This one can gap fill back up, but obviously getting hit on the news overnight. And I mean, that's not a healthy looking chart. It's a big downtrend. Could go out of business. Citibank also making lower low, potentially lower lows. That's lower than this low, so that looks like we might see a lower low on Citibank. Microsoft, one of the two that are being strong, holding up our whole economy. 13% of the S&P 500 right now is represented by Microsoft and Apple. Microsoft hanging out right here. It's got the zone right up here. That's probably resistance. If we can get above that, we can continue higher on Microsoft. So it's down significantly off the 350-ish high. Hanging out here at 276. And we gotta start making higher highs, or continue making higher highs to get higher. I mean, makes sense, right? What did Deutsche Bank do? Let's Google it real quick, right? I don't even know how you spell it. D-E-A-U-T. There it goes. Google help me out. So, Deutsche Bank shares slide 14% after sudden spike in the cost to insuring against default right there. So, credit default swaps jumped up in price, and people that sell CDSs are at risk of having to pay out. So, anyway. There's UBS, who was buying out Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank. All these, if these CDSs pay out, the people that sell CDSs are going to get raked. All right, there's not like, and what are CDSs? Credit default swaps. I've been over that a few times recently. Credit default swaps are, if you're somebody that gives out credit, say Bank of America giving out credit cards, right? Credit. Your local credit union loaning you against a car, credit. All right, buying a house, you get a mortgage. That's credit extended. Now, to insure against that, the default of that, that's where the default terminology comes from. You would swap that risk to somebody else, and you do that through an insurance policy called a credit default swap. You swap it to some other bank. Now, Deutsche Bank and UBS are major. It was Credit Suisse, but now it's UBS since they own it. They are major sellers of credit default swaps. So that's where that comes from. All right. So the risk there, those banks having trouble if credit default swaps start having to pay out. All right, back over to the list. Try to run through some more. Netflix showing a little pop. Tech, big tech, money flowing. This was a beautiful setup, market roadmap bounce. Looks like Netflix can rally right back up into this $500 area if it wants to keep going. that might be another one that's smart to take a look at. Nvidia still kind of chugging right here. This was a target area right here at this 265 area. Find a little resistance. It can do a pullback and recharge before it makes the next push higher. Don't necessarily count on it to just keep on trucking. ATVI, nice big pop on, not even sure what happened. Looks like, oh, acquisition deal gets a win. So Microsoft trying to buy Activision. Key right there, getting hit. It was supposed to be Apple, AAPL, not APPL. Apple just consolidating right here above the breakout. We broke out above these highs. Haven't gotten continuation yet. As soon as that one gets continuation, it's probably on a path to 200. Not sure what INKA was, but Baidu working on getting up through here. We get above 170. That one's on a path to go higher with the next resistance up here around 210. VXX was getting a little pop on the market uncertainty. Looks like we just did a split on VXX too. So made that one a little more. This is a reverse split, 1 for 4. Make it a little more responsive. DRV, what was that? Real estate bears. Yeah, commercial real estate. Now this one could pop off here. Commercial real estate at big risk. That's what I was talking about yesterday. SRTY, find a resistance right there. That's ultra short Russell. We start breaking above that 58 area. We could see a rally up into the $70 area on short Russell. SCO, short oil. Still consolidating in here. This one may break down if oil starts rallying. EA getting a little pop, probably on the Activision news. Yeah, doesn't look like anything important there. Just popping because Activision's popping. Somebody saying, hey, software's popping. So, and video games. FAZ, financial bears, starting to potentially break out. Banks can go on down. This is not the all clear on banks that I've said. I've tried to echo that. This banking thing is just the first shoe. We'll probably have more banking. Another Take-Two Interactive. That's another video game getting a pop, probably because of the Activision news. TZA, small cap bears. Again, that's Russell bears. And Roblox, another video game software, getting a pop on that Activision news. Roblox doesn't really break out until above 45, and they lose money like crazy, so be careful on Roblox. All right, that's kind of what's moving for today. That's my update. Stay tuned in Discord. I'll keep you abreast of the situation. I am going to be on Ask the Pros Premium at 1 o'clock. So if you're a member or a subscriber of that content, come join us. Otherwise, I'll see you around. Have a great day. I'll be back with you on Monday. Yeah, I'm going to try to have a great weekend. It's supposed to be warm. Hopefully get 80 degrees and take my hoodie off finally. We'll see. Be safe out there. My bias for the day is still kind of sideways. All right. We always talk about my bias right before we wrap up. Bias for the day, caution and sideways. We're still stuck in this box, right in the middle of the box, right at that support resistance line right there. Mind your money. Be careful. All right. We'll see ya. Bye, everybody.